This was just a few weeks ago. We were reviewing a Fallout game, as we do, and reading old Fallout design documents, as we do. And then a commenter said something along the lines of, well, if you got so many opinions about how Fallout should work, why not just make your own? The toolset is right there. And I was like, no. Do you realize how long that would take? That's stupid. And then I didn't sleep that night. 2 days later, I had a draft of the script. Since making a game isn't realistic, I decided to turn it into a video instead. Thanks to the magic of editing, in this episode, we will pretend to play a game that doesn't exist. We'll explore the map, do the quests, and check out all the endings. And when we are done, I will review this dream Fallout title and explain the thinking behind every design choice. The game is a kind of a sequel to New Vegas, with events unfolding at the same time as the Courier's journey. But this one is set in California, deep in the heart of the Republic. Players will revisit iconic locations from Fallout 1 and 2 and see how they changed over the decades. The enclave in this is a dark Enlightenment conspiracy. The Brotherhood returns to their Fallout 1 tradition of being metallic monks. The Legion runs a Bene Gesserit breeding program. There are wasteland anarchists who call themselves the Hegelians, and a legendary folk hero, a mysterious vigilante known as the Night Witch. But first things first, this video is made possible by our sponsor, Opera GX, a multi-platform web browser for gamers. For a long time, the gamer class, or should I say underclass, had been neglected in the browser space, but not anymore. But what makes a web browser gamer-oriented? Well, first of all, it's the mods, of course. Mods are sophisticated themes that can include a wallpaper, background music, sound effects, UI fonts, and shaders that can change your entire screen. You've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino. We all have. The legend, the curses.
A bright, shining monument luring treasure hunters to their doom.
This mod will take millennials back to the ancestral environment they evolved in, Windows XP. Another feature of Opera GX is the ability to separate videos from the browser into a floating adjustable video frame. You can watch a lore breakdown of Father Elijah while reading a wiki article about Father Elijah. That's easily double the knowledge, boss. Opera GX also has an import tool that allows you to quickly import all your settings from your previous browser to GX, all your bookmarks, cookies, and browsing history, but only if you want to.
A chance to begin again.
Opera GX. Click the link in the pinned comment and give the best browser out there a try. And now, the story. Over 2 centuries ago, an anonymous author under the pseudonym Majestic published their magnum opus. In the book's pages was your vision for how the world could be remade. The novel became a national bestseller, capturing the heart and mind of America. Its ideas inspired the creation of the Heartland, a secretive group of thinkers, tycoons, and politicians, including the sitting US president. Together, they formed a secret organization called the Enclave. A bunch of pretentious old men playing at running the world. The Heartland is based on the really existing John Birch Society, whose members were convinced that President Eisenhower was a secret communist. The Enclave conspiracy is a Falloutization of this idea. Under the influence of extremist ideology, the United States President and the members of the conspiracy have convinced themselves that it is the American people who are a communist. The Enclave knew about the coming nuclear annihilation, but they didn't care. You didn't care. The Americans have failed you. They are the enemy. With the resources and advanced technology at our disposal, we will wait for the ashes to settle, and then we will try again. War never changes. Humanity nearly vanished in nuclear fire, but your ideas did not. This is the story of the author who destroyed the world. The year is 2281. The NCR has won the first battle of Hoover Dam. Caesar rallies his forces at Fortification Hill. The Grand Master sends his clerics to search for the final component of the Death's Hand. Angela Bishop plots her next move at the Shark Club. And Centurion Bacchus Salic savors the fruits of his labor. Profligates crucified within a day's walk from the Republic's capital. The hand of the Son of Mars reaches far. Somewhere beneath the California wasteland, in a long-forgotten ancient lab, you open your eyes. This is an enclave facility, abandoned and half buried in sand. Its purpose was to preserve us and our tools for rebuilding the future. But something went wrong. You are finally awake, Majestic. You have spent more than 2 centuries in cryogenic suspension. I couldn't wake you up, couldn't reach you. I am trapped on a lower level. The voice is talking to us through the facility intercom. It's me, Jack. We used to know each other well. I woke up before you. Jack Witt, a billionaire and the head of a biochemistry empire. One of us, and the most ambitious one. The facility's enclave code name is Mechanical Messiah, as grandiose and self-important as the organization it once served. A secure door leads deeper inside, but sand and debris block the way. According to the records, the control station enclave in the Pacific was destroyed 38 years ago. This must have caused the facility's computers to malfunction, but I believe it's still possible to awaken the Messiah. You need to find a way to reach me, Majestic. The first step of the main quest is simple. We need to find a shovel to remove the debris to get to our friend Jack. There doesn't appear to be a shovel here, so we'll have to go explore. We gather some basic supplies from a locker, climb the emergency access ladder, and step into a scorched wasteland. Jack points us towards a nearby settlement called Shady. Do not tell anyone who you are. Traveling on foot sure takes a long time. I certainly hope Jack's voice isn't the only thing on the radio. The Lawn 15. From Shady Sands to the Hoover Dam, we've got your back. Ranger Chief Hanlon, welcome to the program. Thomas? So, Chief, you've been to a Reno bar. You know how it goes. 1 shot of Rodgut, Republic bad. 2 shots of Rodgut, Republic good. 3 shots of Rodgut, that's when we get to the real stuff. Mr. Bishop's father is a tribal warlord. The United States of America still exists. We are being watched by ancient robots. Do you think there is any truth to these conspiracy theories? Shady is the capital of the new California Republic. According to the available data, it's the largest state in the American wasteland. On the city outskirts, we'll find traders, tribals, citizens from Vault City, ghouls from Dayglow, and even the occasional super mutant. Unfortunately, it looks like wastelanders aren't allowed inside the walls. The Republic is at war with an army of slaves from Arizona. Caesar's forces have recently ambushed a caravan resupplying NCR troops in the Mojave, and in response, the city was locked down. Non-citizens have to buy a day pass, or wait a month of in-game time for the lockdown to be lifted. Either way, we should find something to do. Looking for work? says a man by the counter. That would be Morgan, a mercenary working for the Brahmin Barons, a powerful force in Shady. The game's early side quests focus on either easing or intensifying tensions among the wastelanders gathered on the city's outskirts. There is this group of reformed tribals from a place called Arroyo. One of them roughed up a rancher during a drunken argument, and now the family is demanding compensation. The village of Arroyo, originally featured in Fallout 2, changed dramatically after the enclave crisis. Realizing that isolation couldn't protect them, the village elders invested heavily in education, without knowing what kind of education is useful. Some tribals study Zen Buddhism, others Freudian psychoanalysis. A man named Xenophon, whom Morgan is about to confront, studied modern folklore. And the dumbest part? The argument was about whether some old book counted as authentic Americana. Morgan the Pinkerton and Zeno the Tribal are among the earliest companions available, although we won't be taking them. After picking up a shovel, either bought from a trader or just found lying around, we return to the bunker to dig up Jack. There is no actual rush though, he'll wait forever, but there is a reason to do it sooner rather than later, and this has to do with our reworked special system. You bet we'll be making changes to stats, skills and traits. First of all, Gifted now grants 3 extra stat points instead of 7, so it's no longer a mandatory pick. There are new conspiracy-themed traits. Billionaire kleptomaniac. You were so rich and powerful that you lost the understanding of the concept of personal property, and no one dared to correct you. Dork enlightenment. A life of books without ever going outside. Ghostwriter, unseen, uncredited, yet forever haunting the pages of history. Doomsday Prepper. You start with extra items and a bunch of locations revealed on the world map, as well as a bonus to gambling. The catch is that the extra items you get are physically heavy canned food products, and they replace some of the more useful generic items. The barter skill is now called Streetwise. It governs store prices and about half of the dialogue checks. And there are other changes. Majestic, please. We dig through the sand and descend to the level below. And this is when we begin to understand the general outline of the main quest. The mechanical messiah is out of juice. 4 rare pre-war energy cells are required to turn on the central power, activate the elevator, get to our friend Jack, and trigger the endgame. But in practice, we'll probably need more. Many rooms within the facility contain valuable technology, each requiring a power cell to unlock. And so we venture out again, to search for ancient artifacts, to free our friend still trapped in the depths of the machine, and to uncover the secrets of the mechanical messiah. Back to Shady. The city gates should be open by now. On the other side of the wall, it's like the war never happened. If the player is in good standing with Morgan, he can arrange a meeting with his boss, Jacob May, the powerful figure behind the Brahmin cartel. In a not-so-subtle bit of world building, the Republic's most influential media outlet, the Lawn 15 Radio, operates out of the same building as the Brahmin Baron. The station's main voice is Thomas, a former follower of the apocalypse turned radio host. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Here is the latest. The 3rd Battalion is returning home, once again under a cloud of controversy. Multiple sources report that the unit recently detained trader Marcellus, also known as Marcellus the Vulture, a merchant who does business on both sides of the Colorado. He was suspected of aiding Caesar's intelligence, though no hard evidence ever resurfaced. Marcellus was reportedly killed en route to Shady Sands, torn apart by a pack of wild dogs trailing the caravan. Battalion Commander Van Zamora called it an animal safety accident. This is a 3rd such accident this year. Radio receivers are common in public spaces across California. Their purpose is to remind us that the war in the Mojave is still unfolding and that the player will determine its outcome. After proving ourselves to the Barons, Jacob May offers a delicate assignment, one that will take us far across the wastes. He wants to learn the truth behind an old wasteland legend, the Night Witch. She's a vigilante, a beloved folk hero. Supposedly the witch took down the Mordino drug empire with a well-placed explosive, leveling their drug lab, the stables. But that was before I was even born. They sing songs about her, many different songs actually. How does that one go? She's justice cloaked in shadow, she's fire in the night. She is silence stalking tyrants when their greed has reached its height. There is one place in Shady where they might know more. Montgomery and Steel, a legal aid organization serving NCR citizens, as well as a book club frequented by people who have ideas about power, justice, and wealth redistribution. 30 years ago, a man named Maxton Harper wrote The Thesis, a short book, almost a manifesto. Harper, a former legal expert, developed his understanding of the NCR state through jurisprudence. The book became the foundation of modern egalitarian thought in the wasteland. One of his inspirations was your novel, but not for its ideas. It's just Harper saw it as an extraordinary act of communication. Our friend Jack is annoyed by these people. Anarchists are human-shaped entropy. All this should feel familiar to you, Majestic. They had organizations like this in your time. The biggest difference is they call themselves Hegelians now. As far as gameplay is concerned, the lawyers are basically a thieves' guild. We repossess items from the local pawnbroker, distribute copies of the thesis to tribals, and eventually rob the vice president's house, assuming we can get past his very special guards. Alpha Revenant. No offense, but it sounds like a comic book name. The Brotherhood assigned it to us as a random code name during the war. We took it, made it ours. But officially, you are still the NCR 3rd Battalion, the fighting elite. I'm thinking about switching sides actually. Excuse me? I apologize for Adam. Someone peed in his FEV tank before he was born, so he came out ugly and stupid, even more so than usual. There is a lot more to do in Shady Sands, but I feel like traveling. How about Los Angeles? So let's talk about the big map. The world includes most major locations from the first 2 Fallout games, but not all of them. The northernmost point is Redding. The southernmost is Los Angeles. No Vault City, no San Diego. The biggest change from the classic games is that in this, we will be using the special encounter feature to procedurally populate the wasteland with locations, so that every journey feels unique. An oasis in the wasteland, a tribal village in the middle of nowhere, a camp of hunters offering cheap gecko skins, an undisturbed pre-war bunker locked with a high-level lock, a secret raider hideout, a logistics base of the Salvatore security firm. You encounter Order clerics led by a man wearing a decorated mask. Well met, stranger. Your jumpsuit. Where are you from? Tell them you bought the jumpsuit at a bazaar. Yours is in good condition. Must have been pricey. I am Vadir the Sorcerer, so named for my ability to find the best in every situation. We've been sent by the Order to recover an old world weapon, designation XM-98D, Excalibur. Truth to be told, we don't have many leads to pursue. Excalibur, like the mythical sword of King Arthur. No, not like the mythical sword. It's a type of advanced artillery shell. Nothing lost, nothing gained. Be on your way. These people are from the Brotherhood of Steel. They fought a campaign against the NCR to an inconclusive result. Something's off. I feel like I've seen this person before, but I can't place where. During the war, perhaps? No, it was an old film reel, but that doesn't make any sense. Maybe he just has one of those faces. Dear listeners, today we have a special guest, a rare visitor from the monastery, Cleric Brictwin the Karen. I believe it's Brictwin? Lady Brictwin. Even though, legally speaking, the Brotherhood and the Republic are still at war, there haven't been any active fighting for years. Yet, we don't see many of your order on the streets of our cities. The Order lives by the Codex. We are forbidden from lying, stealing, accumulating wealth, and forming romantic ties with outsiders. That sounds like a party. It's a good life. Aren't you at all concerned that after the conquest of the Mojave, the NCR will turn its eyes on the independent communities here in California? Lady Brictwin, why are you smiling? Is that a no? The reason they call it the boneyard is because of the skeletons of skyscrapers scorched by nuclear fire. The local economy is about fishing, shipping, there are mushroom farms, and the city is also home to gun runners. They have a factory and an engineering lab in one of the Gothic skyscrapers. The humanitarian organization Followers of the Apocalypse is a major influence in LA. The city has a branch of Consolidated Aircraft, a company from San Diego that services the NCR vertibird fleet. The firm is owned by one Henry Wild. They used to be a member of the Heartland by that name. Turns out he survived as a ghoul in San Diego, leveraged the technology of Dayglow to climb the ranks of NCR political elite. But he no longer believes in the project. He won't help us, but for all time's sake, he won't turn us in either. Look around you. We did this. Boneyard features a lot of optional fighting, because a skyscraper is a perfect video game dungeon, even though technically it's the opposite of one. We have individually digestible levels, progression, and a convenient shortcut at the top. Since Los Angeles sits at the edge of the explorable space, some of these dungeons are designed as late-game content. We might encounter exiled ghoul extremists from Dayglow, rogue Brotherhood knights, and of course the sect of Krokrikir, super mutants who kidnap human children and indoctrinate them into the cult of the Holy Fire. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get you some news. A scientific breakthrough. Scholars from the Followers have reported the discovery of an entirely new kind of organism living in the tunnels beneath Redding. The creature has existed for centuries and may even be sentient. Contact with an inhuman intelligence, a frightening prospect. In other news, as of this week, it's been over 5 years since the last quote-unquote verified Night Witch attack. Did the Wasteland hero perish? Or was she never real to begin with, just a myth all along? More after this. The Hub was established in 2093 around a desert oasis and a pre-war town that had survived the Great War. Over time, it grew into a major center of commerce, thus the name, linking settlements from across the wasteland. Many caravan companies, including Crimson Caravan, have offices here. This is also the base of the water merchants. The NCR currency is backed by water. The local branch of the Hegelian faction runs a radio station. The man behind the mic is Jules. The radio station is located in the basement of the Maltese Falcon, a bar and a casino. The owner of the Falcon, a businessman named Joseph Watson, is one of the good ones, and they worked together for years. But what is known to nobody but a precious few is that Joseph's true name is Tiberius Helvius. He is one of Caesar's frumentari. Hegel FM is being cultivated intentionally to promote factionalism and division within the NCR society. The Legion is the most secretive group in the game. Sure, you can find them if you know where to look, but more likely it will be them finding you. You encounter a young man with a smile on his face. Master, it was difficult to catch up with you. So what they said is true. You are still alive. I am Vel Arcadius Vagnius. I serve the great Kaiser. The truthfulness of the last statement is something of a philosophical question. 200 years ago, your ancestors were warned about the coming apocalypse, and they survived in their fortress compound in Arizona. I am your great-great-grandson. Master, you will be pleased to know that the great project is still ongoing. The conspirators' plan was to rebuild the world using advanced technology, FEV, AI, robotics, high-tech manufacturing. But war never changes. The more power technology grants to man, the faster he destroys himself. This doesn't mean that the project failed. Quite the opposite. You see, Majestic, they took your ideas in another direction. House Arcadius developed a different vision for what kind of technology they require. Human as instrument, as few external devices as possible. Brain, not computer. Training, not mechanical augmentation. Selective breeding, not pharmaceutically forced evolution. 2 centuries of brutal social Darwinism. That's what Vel's people are about. The Frumentari quest chain involves a lot of diplomacy and streetwise checks, and it's about manipulating the dissolute into destroying themselves. A Frumentarius will study the target organization and compile a list of talking points and arguments. The player's task is to choose correct dialogue options based on this intelligence. The strategic approach of the Frumentari involves exploiting the fact that most locals have no understanding of life outside the NCR, combined with the concept of negative polarization, that is, the tendency for individuals to form political opinions by opposing entities they dislike, which, for many, is the Republic. But what if speechcraft ain't your thing? We don't really know what the speculatories are supposed to do canonically, but in this, they are the Delta Force accompaniment to the Frumentari. The speculatories answer to the Centurion Bakis Selik. He is the one responsible for the Shady lockdown in the beginning of the game. He has a complicated past. The man is a disowned relative of yours. Oh, the melodrama of House Arcadius. See, when their community was assimilated into Caesar's state, Vel's people developed this tradition of stripping their weaker children of their family name and giving them to the Legion. Life expectancy in Edward's army is not very high, so most of the time they die shortly after. But sometimes they make it. Bucky's made it. Him being here makes this awkward for everyone, but we are professionals. You know what I just realized? This story is too cloak and dagger. Some people are simply not into that, and I cannot blame them. What we need is an Apollonian faction. So we head to the monastery in the mountains. Would it be a blessing or a curse to live your life over and over again for eternity? In the early 2250s, as the NCR Brotherhood War was fast approaching, it was becoming increasingly obvious that the Republic was a stronger horse. They had the manpower, the logistics, the industry, and soon they'll have the technology as well. Don't take this the wrong way, Lady Brightwin, but why fight at all? Why not negotiate for the Brotherhood to be an institution within the NCR? Our visions of life are at odds. In the Republic, your purpose is to pay taxes. In the Order, you carve your name into history. It is not an easy existence, but it is a good life, and it's worth fighting for. Grandmaster's first move was to abandon Lost Hills. The old bunker had become a liability. It's too exposed. The Brotherhood built a new stronghold carved into the face of the mountain. The Wastelanders call it the Monastery. Joining the Brotherhood transforms your game mechanically like no other faction does. This version of the organization is a military order inspired by Fallout 1 concept art, a conversation with Marcus from Fallout 2, and there is even a little bit of the Tribunal Temple from Morrowind in there as well. The core mechanics revolve around mandatory oaths taken by all the initiated. The Oath of Celibacy, no romantic relationships outside of the Order. The Oath of Honesty, never lie, never use the streetwise skill. The Oath of Poverty, never carry more than 2,000 caps on your person. Excess wealth should be donated to the Order. This is not the same Brotherhood from an NCR textbook. Not that you were ever exposed to one. As long as the vows are upheld, the Brotherhood's psychophysical conditioning grants substantial bonuses to damage threshold, armor class, and sequence. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We are not even a member yet. To join the Brotherhood, one must complete a quest of great importance. Master Barenwald has tasked us with retrieving a schematic for an ancient piece of technology known as the Death's Hand. He also suggests searching the databases for something called the Excalibur device. XM98D Excalibur. I remember. Most pre-war facilities in California have been picked clean decades ago, but Master Barenwald offers what could be a lead. A ship, a pre-war military vessel, was spotted off the coast near the town of Cambria, west of here. Cambria is a tiny seaside village midway between San Francisco and Los Angeles, along California's State Route 1. The location isn't particularly notable, except for a large private bunker discovered here a decade ago. Since then, the bunker was stripped of anything valuable and became a base of sorts for local prospectors. But it seems someone hasn't gotten the message. Do you recognize it, Majestic? This is the Kozak, or Bubble Pod, like we used to call it, the submarine research station of eccentric billionaire Max Crab, a member of the Heartland. 240 years ago, Max purchased a Typhoon nuclear sub from the Soviet Union and remade it into his personal yacht. We have been here many times. This is where it all began. The automatic defenses will shred any wastelander who approaches the vessel, but not us. Welcome back, Majestic. You have been gone for 76,644 days. And inside, we meet our absent-minded colleague Max. The man casually greets us, like he last saw us yesterday. He hasn't aged at all. How is that possible? Max is detached, absorbed in his research. The enclave, the war, the world outside, none of it seems to matter to him anymore. Bubble Pod, or the Kozak, is a mid-game science dungeon. Players with good science and repair skills will find plenty of opportunities to reprogram defense systems and turn enemy robots into allies. The research computer contains Max's notes on a newly discovered wasteland creature he calls the Abominon, a postulated substrate of absolute horror, the worst thing in the world. So melodramatic. Maybe I should start giving you people stupid names as well. Deeper inside the facility, the player discovers the full blueprint for the Death's Hand, an 800mm super heavy artillery cannon now under construction in the Brotherhood's mountain fortress. It fires guided Excalibur shells, devastating long-range precision munitions. With the Death's Hand operational, the Order would be protected against any threat, be that NCR, the Legion, or something worse. Another question for you, Chief Hanlon. Who or what is the Mechanical Messiah? It's one of them wasteland legends, ancient evil buried beneath the sand somewhere in California. Is there any truth to it? I like to think that there is. Makes for a good story, if nothing else. A monstrous machine created by desperate madmen who were afraid to die. Initiation into the Brotherhood involves spending a full month living at the monastery. The player takes part in monastic life, eating in the dining hall, training in the yard, and attending history lectures. The lessons recount the deeds of heroes, the paladins who aided the Vault Dweller at Mariposa, and Knight Matt, who shared enclave tech with the people of the wasteland. At the top of the mountain above the monastery, there is a helipad with a vertibird. A domed structure nearby hides the Death's Hand. The Brotherhood's old language is no longer in use for the most part. Scribes are now known as clerics. Elders are now masters. The closest thing they have to paladins is a society of combat veterans called Brothers of the Sword. Is that what they're calling themselves now? They didn't have a fancy name when we fought them. The mutant took several plasma hits, direct hits, and stayed on his feet. Super mutants with military training. We are fortunate that Caesar is not this open-minded. The knights are expected to take more vows and oaths as they progress through the ranks, like Oath of Purity. One must avoid taking any substance that clouds judgment, so no drugs, no alcohol, even tribal healing remedies are forbidden. Normal stimpaks are good though. In exchange, a knight receives advanced psychophysical training. If the player breaks an oath, all training bonuses are revoked. Restoring your abilities is free, but you will be locked in the monastery library for 15 real-time minutes. There is nothing to do but wait, read the order lore, and think about what you did. Long story short, the Brotherhood is not in decline for once. It is ascendant, but there is still one war never changes kind of an element at play, and that is pride. With the Order's emphasis on Apollonian heroism, individual knights are encouraged to cultivate personal legends. Many of them would wear custom war masks, refining and upgrading them over time. It's a personal symbol of valor and vanity. Pride breeds ambition, and ambition disloyalty. This is why a relatively common type of high-level encounter in the late game is a rogue Brotherhood knight. On our way back to Shady, we make a brief stop at a small settlement called Darkwater. Junktown is one of the first provisional states of the NCR. The name was changed a few years back after a successful petition by residents who felt that the original name was undignified. The town hasn't grown much since the days of Fallout 1. What keeps Darkwater relevant is that it's the car capital of California. 4 months after the start of the adventure, a heavy vehicle like this one will show up near the gates of Junktown. It's a mechanized caravan belonging to a local trader who sometimes makes trips to the Mojave and the faraway regions. I promise you, Vadir, you are not the first to think of digging through this junk pile for treasure. There was nothing here 100 years ago. There is nothing here now. I just radioed in. They have the Excalibur. Someone else must have found it. We'll have to return empty-handed. What is that? What is what? This? It's a power cell. Pristine condition. So not entirely empty-handed then. I have seen the Brahmin Barons counting coin in burning lands, watched the Rangers guard the ledgers written by their masters' hands. There is a small lecture hall in the basement of Montgomery and Steel, and this is where the promotions happen. A cutscene plays, a bunch of people gather together, a lecturer explains a concept and quotes theory. The despair is there. Now it's up to us to poke the wound until the people are mad enough to fight back. Outside, a bunch of kids are playing on the street. I'm the Night Witch. Bam bam! Die, jerkface! You know, Majestic, regardless of your own plans, if you want to prevent Caesar from winning the war, the most practical move is to join the NCR Rangers. Unlike the regular military, Rangers accept non-citizens into their ranks. Their quest chain is about an engineering train heading east, stopping to build or repair sections of the railroad. Like the Marine quests, cutscenes are used to convey the passage of time. Along the way, we fend off raiders, powder gangers, and on the return trip, Legion speculatories. Some men out there are monsters. Raiders, slavers, cannibals. Caesar's genius was taking these monsters and shaping them into a weapon against the bloated NCR Empire. Better they die fighting soldiers than terrorizing farmers. Point them at civilians, they're monsters. Point them at the state, they're revolutionaries. That's just basic dialectics. In the basement of the Ranger compound in Shady, there are a bunch of disassembled parts lying on a table. With a repair check, you can rebuild K9, the snarky robot dog from Fallout 2. We are almost done collecting the power cells to reanimate the mechanical messiah. Just need one more. And we haven't even visited the game's most populated urban location yet. Mr. Bishop has reportedly succumbed once again to wanderlust, leaving New Reno behind to roam the wasteland in search of adventure. His mother Angela, known to some as the Queen of Reno, remains in charge of the Shark Club. New Reno is Chris Avallon's finest addition to the Fallout series. While some critics among the fanbase took issues with it, its flaws are ultimately fixable, but its strengths are foundational. We have already made changes to the criminal families, so all that's left is to create a believable economy. New Reno is no longer run purely on prostitution and drugs. The city is surrounded by farmland. The locals do a little bit of everything. There are experts and services of all kinds, except for advanced technology or expensive healthcare. To differentiate this place from Vegas, I want Reno to be basically the Fallout Gotham City. This means more tall, gothic buildings. The Wright family, the only criminal family that survived relatively unchanged, still produces and exports alcohol. The city has multiple gambling establishments and hotels. There is a boxing gym, fights on Fridays and Saturdays. The porn studio is just a normal movie studio now. I find it both believable and humorous that in this setting, the movie industry would evolve out of the porn industry. The Bishop family functions as an additional NCR quest chain. While the Rangers handle military reconnaissance, the Bishops operate as a shadowy intelligence agency for the Republic, exploiting the city's position as a crossroads of the wasteland. Its casinos, brothels, and hotels are frequented by Arroyans, Vault City citizens, Mormon missionaries, and drifters of every kind. The guests bring their stories, secrets, and agendas, and the bishops make it their business to know them all. Angela Bishop runs the operations. I see her as a woman Benny, if that makes sense. And just as the man Benny, she did overreach somewhat. Shark Club is where the final quest in the Seculatories chain takes place. Val and Bacchus have been quietly seeding the hotel with their agents for weeks. Everyone is in position. All they need is a code phrase. Pale Regalia. What follows is urban slaughter on a massive scale. But it doesn't have to end like this, you know. Bishops are extremely good at what they do, and it can be beneficial to work with them rather than against them. The Night Witch. It's a very Reno kind of a story. It's like this. 40-something years ago, Ethel Wright, the puritanical matriarch of the Wright family, grew disillusioned with the moral decay of the biggest little city in the world. drugs, alcohol, vice. Together with a priest from a local church, she founded an organization called Temperance Union. Reno being what it is, it took them a while to grow their membership, but eventually they had a breakthrough, literally. You see, the Rights had looted a pre-war military base and hid the weapons somewhere in the city. One night, during a Temperance Union meeting, an activist fell through a rotted floor and landed in a basement packed with military-grade weaponry. Now we're cooking with fire. Like the progenitor organization, the vigilante gang that followed kept the matriarchal structure. There is the Night Witch, the leader, and she has one female apprentice. A typical Night Witch lasts around 10 years before she is either killed or accumulates enough wounds to necessitate retirement. When we finally track her down, on a quiet farmstead outside Reno, she's bedridden. Her apprentice is dead, and she never trained another. So this is why the attacks have stopped. Is this the end of the legend? Maybe not. Why was the 3rd Battalion, the Republic's top combat unit, pulled from the Mojave to guard Brahmin in California? Why does every broadcast out of the hub talk about the virtues of Caesar? Who sent the Salvatore mercenaries after trading ships? Makes you think. This has to be the funniest career turn for you, Majestic. From a dark Enlightenment ideologue to a people's vigilante. You really do get around. The witch was responsible for, among other things, reshaping the political landscape of Redding, the mining town that happens to be our next destination. Once upon a time, 3 regional powers, Vault City, New Reno, and the NCR, vied for control over Redding. The NCR currency used to be backed by gold, and Redding's mines were the largest known source of the mineral. He who controls the town controls the money. One day, the notoriously cruel owner of the Cocoa-Leaf mine arrives to inspect the operations, but it wasn't his lucky day. A section of the mine collapses behind them, and they were never seen again. Shortly after, the mine's ownership was transferred to one Comrade King. The paperwork was filed with help from a big city lawyer who happened to be in town. I told you the lawyers know about the witch. Mr. King announced that the mine is now co-owned by the workers. The proletarian utopia lasted for about 2 months, and then the Brotherhood melted down the NCR gold reserves, triggering a full-blown economic crisis and forcing the Republic to abandon its gold standard and return to water-backed bottle caps. Desperate miners drove their machines deeper into the earth, carving out new tunnels in search of anything valuable. This was a mistake. At the saloon, they call it the Howler Below. In the Followers' Library in Los Angeles, there is a text on a cryptid from Redding called Iron Widow. A book in the monastery archive mentions a creature called Old Hollow. Brothers of the Sword pursued a surviving enclave platoon to an old mine near the town of Redding. That's how we learned about the creature. It may be an undocumented animal or a plant altered by radiation or FEV. Its body is massive. It lives inside the stone like a tree grows from soil. It sings songs. Cocoa-Leaf is a moody endgame dungeon, a series of tunnels and caves where FEV monsters have made their home. Deeper in the dungeon, we meet the original owner of the mine, and through him we can have a conversation with the ancient being. You are old, not as old as me, but old enough. Over the centuries, the Howler, or Abominon, has absorbed a vast amount of human knowledge. It can explain various philosophical concepts to the player. If you don't understand something about the story, you come here and talk to this thing. The creature has unexplained and extraordinary powers. The Brotherhood's advanced mental conditioning proves essential. The final boss of Cocoa-Leaf is a suit of advanced power armor, puppeteered by the Howler's will. There is no pilot inside, just 999 hit points of mind-controlled composite plating. Players who have invested in repair can get the best armor in the game by winning the fight. But that's not the only prize. We retrieve a power cell from the old mining rig. Of course, the Howler isn't thrilled that we raided its dragon horde. You know, you are such an asshole, Majestic. It's time to go rescue our friend Jack, and either awaken another ancient monster buried beneath the earth, or to seal it away for good. I have walked through shattered ruins where the enclave built their throne, saw the echoes of their empire carved in steel and dust and bone. We are back where we started. Majestic inserts the power cells into the generator. There is no turning back now. You should hold on to something. The ground trembles. The Messiah awakens. Running diagnostics. Land crawler systems online. Weapons check complete. Communications initializing. Contacting control station enclave. Failed. Assuming command authority. Mechanical Messiah is an enclave mobile base crawler, one of the largest land vehicles ever constructed. Inside are the Philosopher's laboratories, databanks, and production facilities. It carries enough weapons to handle a small army. The machine had to be buried underground to prevent detection. We will wait for the ashes to settle, and then we will try again. Jack Witt woke up 40 years ago. As the former head of a biochemical empire, he had knowledge of the groundbreaking potency of the FEV. Before waking anyone else, he decided to enhance himself, just in case. A small advantage over other conspirators. But there was something wrong with the FEV strain we had here in the facility. His body began to break down, melting from the inside out. Paralyzed and deteriorating, Jack ordered the facility's robots to construct a containment pod filled with biomedical gel. By the time it was completed, only his head, spine, and right arm remained. Hello, Majestic. Finally face to face. Surprised? It is what it is. Through the ancient surveillance systems, he's been watching the wasteland for decades. Pale Regalia contingency in progress. The plan was conceived over 2 centuries ago, aboard the Cossack. By the time we awaken, it's likely the survivors or their descendants from one of the Voltec facilities will have formed a new post-war government. The Pale Regalia is a decapitation strike. Vertibirds launched from surviving enclave bases to eliminate the leadership of this new state. And then we will take control of their institutions. This is what Henry from the boneyard was so afraid of. The ancient crawler accelerates towards Shady sands. Val watches from a cliff, the massive machine rumbling below. His ideas vindicated. They are about to destroy each other. Again. So let's talk about the endings, starting with the Heartland, or the America ending. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the It appears we have a situation developing. Jack Witt loves his fellow man, but he isn't of a high opinion of their decision-making abilities. They use bottle caps as currency, for Christ's sake. We have supercomputers, machines that can cure any disease, clinical immortality, and the experience. Each one of us built an empire of industry, an empire of thought. The project must continue. This time, without factionalism and division that tore apart old America. I think it was us who tore apart old America. When in the course of human events, the machinery of governance ceases to function and the vestiges of civilization are squandered, it becomes necessary for the capable to reassert their right to rule. The enclave will be taking control of the new California Republic, its military and its economy. We will use every part of the buffalo. Jack, you gotta promise me you'll never use this expression again. The Heartland ending is always on the table. All you have to do is follow through with the plan. The Messiah crashes through Shady's outer wall and stops. It's time for the final battle. The player can repair the faulty wiring to bring the machine's point defense system online, or they can use the science skill on the communications terminal to call for additional vertibird reinforcements. Tactically speaking, this would make things a lot easier. But emotionally, this would make things a lot harder, because the final battle isn't about tactics, it's about psychological torture. The city is defended by the remnants of the 3rd Battalion and the hastily assembled civilian militia. The people we've met, some of them our friends, Morgan the Pinkerton, Xenophon the Tribal, Thomas the Radio Man, the lawyers are here. Even the Brahmin Barons have taken up arms to defend their city. And of course, you'll have to kill them all. What did you expect, Majestic? The purpose of the crowd is to prevent our bullets from reaching the members of Alpha Revenant, Republic's last line of defense. Van Zamora and the super mutant Adam remain at distance, using long-range precision weapons for devastating effect. Once the Revenant falls, the NCR is no more. The United States of America is born again with its capital here in Shady, and we are its new founding fathers. The exact nature of the American state is based on the player's ethics and karma. But that's not all. If the player failed to secure enough Mojave resupply points, Caesar will exploit the chaos and win the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. This is the bad version of this ending. But if the player did secure enough points, the NCR forces hold the dam just long enough for the Mechanical Messiah and the US military to arrive, turning the tide. But what happens if you don't agree with Jack? As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free. The Republic ending. If the player refuses to help restore the old world, they are faced with a choice. We can fight the floating entity in the aquarium, or talk him down with a successful speech check. This ending is always available. If you choose to fight and win, the aquarium shatters. The creature, what's left of Jack, is sucked into a nearby life support unit. The death animation is cruel and drawn out. In the classic games, these are usually a reward for defeating an important enemy. This one, though, is a punishment. You just killed your friend. The Messiah powers down, and then, moments later, it reboots and resumes its course. A power struggle. Curious. Jack never had the authority to abort the mission. Only military command could do that, and it was vaporized decades ago. We intentionally created this failsafe to prevent infighting. You were supposed to game theory that last-minute power struggles are meaningless. This calls for a deeper degree of involvement. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Enough! What? The voice of the dissolute. I cut out its tongue. My name is Tiberius. The son of Mars is coming. You will die. The masks are off. Legion speculatories storm the rooftop of the boneyard's tallest tower and seize control of a grounded vertibird. Tiberius pilots it. Equipped with blood-red combat armor, the speculatories are some of the most terrifying soldiers in the world. Enclave Verti assault teams descend on Shady in a brutal decapitation strike. Their aim is to wipe out the Republic's leadership. The Messiah reaches the city and comes to a halt. On the streets, activated sleeper agents are fighting law enforcement. In the government district, the 3rd Battalion is engaged in combat with Enclave Spec Ops. The player can talk down an Enclave officer, convincing them to stand down with a speech skill. Van Zamora and Adam will join your party for the final fight if you pass a streetwise check. Waiting for you at the center of it all is Bucky Selick, your disowned great-great-great-great-grandson, the product of selective breeding. Bucky's has 300 HP, better criticals bonus move, and a Slayer perk, meaning he always crits in melee. Armed with a sharp stick and a sword as backup, he doesn't need anything else. He's the final boss of the Republic sequence, and the deadliest combatant in the game. When Bucky's falls, the battle ends. The NCR survives, and the authentic culture of California is preserved. This ending is unique because it's the only one where you get the traditional ending slides. All the others are too cataclysmic for this sort of closure. You get to see what becomes of the Republic, of the Mojave, and of the people you met. If he lived, Jack pilots the machine into the wasteland. Eventually he, Max, and Henry reunite on board the crawler, trying to figure out what to do next. I'm thinking about getting into communism. Same. Brothers of the Sword, The Order ending. Available only if the player did the Brotherhood quests. So what are we to make of this, Chief Hanlon? You know, Thomas, General Lee Oliver and President Kimball, they always had these plans, these schemes about folding the Brotherhood into the Republic. Their power-armored knights turned into NCR heavy battalions, their scribes working with the OSI. All I can say is that... be careful what you wish for. Grandmaster, I am aware of the situation. Bring the weapon online. One of the domes in the mountain fortress opens, and the Death's Hand turns towards Shady. Destroy the aberration. The weapon fires. The mechanical messiah has reached the Shady outskirts. It's brought down mid-rampage by a direct hit by an Excalibur projectile. Good riddance. Van Zamora and Adam from the Revenant brace for their final stand. The Enclave closes in from one side and the Legion from another. Just when all seems lost, a vertibird screams overhead. The player and the Brothers of the Sword disembark. Few words are exchanged. Small world. Together they form a defensive circle and hold the line against Enclave commandos and Caesar speculatories, Bakis among them. With the Republic's leaders dead, the Brothers of the Sword assume command of the surviving NCR troops. They direct the defense of Shady. Cleric Brightwin the Karen sets up a field hospital on the outskirts. The old rivals set aside their differences. After it's all over, the surviving members of the Revenant take the vows. If the player fails to secure enough Mojave resupply points, then the Mojave falls. But if the player did secure the points, NCR forces hold the dam long enough for the Order reinforcements to arrive. Colonel Moore, there is a delegation from the Brotherhood. I am Vadir the Sorcerer. Colonel, you have no doubt heard. There has been an attack on the Republic's capital. But there is good news as well. Whatever version of the ending you get, the final shot is a Legion Centurion being put inside an Excalibur projectile and then loaded into the Brotherhood super cannon. The Grandmaster knew he was holding a weaker hand, but he played it well. And against the odds, he won anyway. Secret Heartbeat, the Legion ending. Available if you allied yourself with Vel of House Arcadius. The Messiah reaches the city and comes to a halt. In the government district, the player confronts an Enclave officer and with a speech check assumes command of the operation. Like in Fallout 2, this gives you control over an Enclave squad. Then we meet Bakis, who is already done butchering the NCR leadership. He joins our group. There is only one thing left to do. Agents of the Legion are preparing a cart rigged with explosives. The plan is to detonate the Messiah, to destroy the ancient abomination, and deny its power to the NCR. It's not over, bitch. Inside the crawler, there is an ambush. The 3rd Battalion and what's left of the NCR militia. The best of the Legion and the best of the Republic. The Revenant makes a desperate last stand against the inevitable. Val stands at the edge of the cliff, his eyes fixed on something in the distance. A vertibird lands. Majestic, Bacchus, and Tiberius the pilot disembark. Ave, Bacchus Arcadius Selic. Val addresses him by his real name. That means he is accepted back into the family. Without a word, Bacchus unsheathes his sword and decapitates Tiberius, who was standing next to him. He wasn't one of us. Kaiser must never know. About the Heartland, about Majestic, about us. The Great Project continues. The title song should be written specifically for the game, it should be in the 50s style, and it's about the adventures of the folk hero Night Witch. Now, let's get to fake reviewing the pretend game we just pretend played. Almost all names in the script were randomly generated using fantasynamegenerators.com. This is why they have this uncanny quality, familiar but just off enough. Kojima names. I kinda like that. The map sprite was taken from Phoneline forums. The music is stolen from Fallout Sonora, created by the artist Nobody's Nail Machine. The game is supposed to be a sequel to both Fallout 2 and New Vegas. The mission is to bring the most fun ideas from these games so we can play with them some more. The first idea we revived is Urban Fallout. The game features 4 or 5 major city locations, something no Fallout game since Fallout 2 has attempted. Cities form the skeleton of this game. Certain types of nuanced storytelling, like a Legion spy infiltrating a radio station to sway public opinion against the NCR military, are not possible when your world map consists of just raiders, tribes, and dungeons. You need cities. I have a strong personal preference for Urban Fallout. Another Fallout 2 idea we are bringing back is Arroyo. It's not a physical location in the game, but Arroyans appear in every major settlement. The backstory is that after Fallout 2, the village elders invested heavily in education, without really understanding what kind of education is useful. As a result, Arroyo became focused on humanities. The original Arroyans already hinted at an artistic streak. That's one of the few things we even know about them. I like this interpretation because it brings flavor to the Fallout routine, and it allows us to interact with ideas Fallout typically doesn't, and find interesting uses for them. In the hub, an Arroyan merchant talks in Zen koans. That's not normally a marketable skill, but he managed to make it part of his brand, and it helps him stand out among the competition. One of the first companions we get is a tribal art critic who talks about your book and Harper's thesis. Speaking of companions, in a classic Fallout game, followers aren't expected to play a major role in the story. Most of them don't even have character arcs. This makes them easy to write. All you need is a character concept and a bunch of bark interactions with other followers. In order to support charisma builds, we placed 3 potential companions in Shady: a Pinkerton, an Arroyan, and a robot dog. The Enclave. Yet another Fallout 2 idea we are bringing back. A bunch of pretentious old men playing at running the world. Enclave was criticized for being shallow and believing in nothing. Our version is quite a bit more sophisticated. There are 2 big ideas at play here. First, the story of Majestic, the author who destroyed the world. As the player travels across California, they discover that Majestic's ideas are still alive and still shaping America. Now, it's up to the player to determine their relationship with Majestic. Do you have full or partial memory loss? Have you changed? Are you embarrassed? Or do you still believe in the grand project? And whatever answer the player gives is true, and the game will support it. There is also some moral ambiguity to the main quest. The members of the Heartland have gone through their own personal journeys, and they are not truly bad people anymore. This version of the Enclave actually has something to offer to the Wasteland, but it will come at a price. The plot is inspired by nothing in particular, but a little bit by the conversation about Hegelian diuretics in the Vegas community. Ideas are living things. Believe it or not, the Messiah wasn't borrowed from Todd's Fallout 3. I actually forgot that game had something similar until I started assembling the video. But honestly, this just goes to show how far ahead of everyone Master Todd really is. Thank you for inventing Fallout. The title of the Majestics novel was Secret Heartbeat, but I removed mentions of it because it felt like irrelevant information. The second big thinkery element in play is that I wanted to marinate this story in real ideas. I was never a fan of how Planescape Torment, commonly perceived as an ideas game, focused on teaching the player pretend metaphysics. Since belief literally shapes reality in that setting, the philosophies of its characters end up being basically lifestyle choices. I want to avoid that pitfall and build a game grounded in ideas that are generalizable to real life. That's one of the reasons Vegas is so loved. Majestic's original philosophy is rooted in the Landian view of capital, not as money, but as a self-replicating force of nature. If the player is confused by any of this, they can visit Abominon underneath Reading, who explains things in clear language. It's the kind of thinking that makes billionaires feel that they are not just rich, they are chosen vessels of something greater. A perfect ideology for an antagonist faction. The purpose of the Hegelians is to bring flavor to the Republic and to facilitate thieves and then later assassins type of gameplay. Furthermore, I believe many players would enjoy taking part in anarchist fantasy, but we don't use that word. In order to sidestep players' existing biases, we will deliberately avoid using popular real-world terminology. The goal is to encourage fresh engagement, not pre-made heuristics. This is why we rename everything. The major factions are modeled after guilds from Tamriel Rebuilt. Their presence varies by location, showcasing different interpretations of the same core philosophy. The Hegelians are named that way because it sounds cool, but also to draw parallels with the historical left Hegelians. Maxton Harper is a Falloutization of the American activist and thinker Saul Alinsky. The Night Witch character was created to make this faction more exciting and also to introduce some gender-specific gameplay, keeping up with the classic Fallout tradition. Everyone can do the quests, but only women can become the Night Witch. I originally wanted to create a Black Panther-style faction, but Fallout doesn't really deal with race, so it would have felt inauthentic. Instead, we built on another forgotten Fallout 2 idea, and that's the Temperance Union, and made our vigilante character come from a conservative coded background. I am very satisfied with this. The Hegelians are a big tent. The Legion. People seem to love to hate the Legion, so we are bringing them back, so you can hate them here as well. In Fallout New Vegas, Caesar commanded a horde of iodine-deficient violent tribals. In this game, the few legionnaires that are deployed to California are best of the best. Caesar's state is represented by House Arcadius, who in this universe oversee the Frumentari training and pursue their own secretive agendas behind Caesar's back. Vel approaches technology like the Bene Gesserit or Bene Gesserit do in Dune, human as instrument. The goal is to make the Legion more intellectually dangerous without softening their illiberalism. I am not aware of these ideas having a real-world counterpart, so this is the fakest of our factions. We made House Arcadius related to the protagonist by blood in order to emotionally manipulate the player into seriously considering their side, and also to tie their story more closely to the Enclave plot. In the Heartland ending, Majestic's original vision becomes reality. In the Legion ending, that same idea takes a different shape. becoming a Kwisatz Haderach type of project. The Revenant is an evolution of Vegas ideas. The purpose is to give the Republic's military more character and to manufacture a potential end boss. In New Vegas we had the first recon, and they were fun and all, but unfit for the role of a final enemy because everyone there was dealing with trauma and injury. I also wanted a faction that appropriates Legion language for the purpose of mockery, and a super mutant soldier just felt like a very NCR thing. One important Vegas element we have to flesh out in this is the conflicting nature of NCR capitalism. East of Shady lies a location called Harrell's Ranch, which, as it turns out, is Vault 15. An enterprising NCR citizen named Harrell repurposed the space into a mole rat breeding farm. Vault 15's corridors are reinforced with wooden boards, giving it a makeshift feel. The elevator is replaced by a ladder. The Brahmin Barons feud with Harrell because they see his business as a potential competitor. A new way of doing things. The player can either sabotage the power plant and free the mole rats from their cages, or coerce the man to join the cartel. So, one more thing. In a Fallout game, the player is the storyteller. And do you know what the problem with that is? Fallout is as fun as you are fun. Some people are fun, and others are not. How do we entertain them? How do we, as designers, participate in a story where we are absent? Now it's me who is talking in Zencons. So I came up with a few tricks. First of all, Jack will offer remote assistance and commentary like Alex the Hacker from Deus Ex. This serves as a reminder for the player that the main quest exists, and it helps us develop Jack's character for the final confrontation. Second, there is the radio feature, an idea we borrowed from Todd, known as the Golden Tiger of Unity in the lands of the Chukchi. It's an effective tool for introducing characters and ideas regardless of where the player is or what they are doing. Of course, there is a small issue of classic Fallout not actually having radio functionality. We can fake it with floats, but IDK. There is one way this story experience can be easily improved, and that is by manufacturing a bunch of fake quotes from the book and then putting them inside the game at intervals, just often enough for the player to start noticing patterns. It's satisfying for the mind to notice things, and if we overlay enough patterns on top of each other, this will create a feeling that you are participating in something profound. Torment does this to great effect. Well, here you go. This is not my dream Fallout game in the sense that it's the best, but it is my dream Fallout game in a sense that it's made up in a dreamlike state. 6 out of 10.